Africa's ancient landscape once echoed with footsteps far heavier than any lion's stride. Before modern predators claimed the title of kings, there existed a creature so dominant, so massive, that even the largest lions alive today would have been outmatched without a fight. This predator was not a lion, not a hyena, and not even closely related to the big cats that dominate Africa now. It belonged to a completely different branch of mammalian evolution, an ancient group known as hyaenodonts, a lineage of carnivorous mammals that ruled the world long before modern carnivores evolved into their current forms. Its name is Simbakubwa kutokaafrika, and its story begins in a place far removed from the image most people have of prehistoric Africa. Millions of years ago, during the early Miocene epoch, Africa was a continent in transformation. Forests were giving way to expanding grasslands, and ecosystems were shifting rapidly under changing climates. Around 22 million years ago, this was a world filled with unfamiliar animals, early elephants, primitive rhinoceros relatives, and strange ungulate species that no longer exist today. In this ancient world, Simbakubwa emerged as one of the most powerful predators ever discovered. The name itself, Simbakubwa, means big lion in Swahili, but this was misleading. It was not a lion at all. In fact, it was not even part of the family that includes modern lions, tigers, or leopards. Instead, it belonged to a group of mammals that rose and fell long before true cats ever became dominant. The first clues to Simbakubwa's existence were not dramatic discoveries in the field. Its remains were actually sitting quietly in a museum for decades, overlooked and unclassified. It was only when researchers re-examined these fossils that they realized they had uncovered something extraordinary. The fossil evidence was fragmentary, primarily a partial jaw and teeth, but even these limited remains revealed an animal of astonishing proportions. The teeth alone were enough to indicate a predator designed for one purpose: consuming flesh with maximum efficiency. Its molars were blade-like, adapted for slicing through muscle and possibly even bone. These were not the rounded grinding teeth of herbivores. These were sharp, cutting tools, natural knives embedded in bone. The canines were equally impressive, large, powerful, and built to puncture and hold struggling prey. The jaw structure suggested a crushing bite force capable of delivering devastating damage in a single strike. Estimating the size of Simbakubwa has been a subject of scientific debate, largely because paleontologists must rely on comparisons with modern animals to reconstruct extinct species. Early estimates suggested that Simbakubwa could have weighed over a ton, potentially exceeding 1,000 kilograms. However, more recent analysis has revised these estimates downward. Hyaenodonts, including Simbakubwa, had proportionally larger heads compared to their bodies. This means that earlier estimates, based on modern carnivores, may have exaggerated its overall mass. More conservative estimates place Simbakubwa in the range of 350 to 500 kilograms. Even at this reduced estimate, it remains one of the largest terrestrial carnivores ever known to have existed in Africa. To put that into perspective, a fully grown male African lion typically weighs between 180 and 250 kilograms. Even at its smaller estimate, Simbakubwa would have been significantly larger than the average lion, with a skull far more massive and a bite built for overwhelming force. But size alone does not define dominance. What made Simbakubwa truly remarkable was its ecological role. It lived in a time before modern carnivores existed in Africa. Lions, leopards, hyenas, and cheetahs had not yet evolved into the predators we recognize today. Instead, ecosystems were dominated by entirely different groups, one of which was the hyaenodonts. These animals were not related to cats, dogs, or bears. They were part of an earlier evolutionary experiment, mammals that evolved to specialize in carnivore long before the modern carnivore groups diversified. Simbakubwa was one of the apex predators of its time. Its hunting style was likely very different from that of modern lions. Lions are social hunters. They rely on teamwork, strategy, and coordination to take down large prey. Simbakubwa, however, was most likely a solitary hunter. Its size and power suggest that it did not need a group to bring down its prey. Instead, it likely relied on ambush tactics, explosive bursts of strength, and overwhelming physical force. The prey it hunted would have been very different from today's African wildlife. Early Miocene Africa was home to a variety of now extinct herbivores, including primitive elephants and early relatives of rhinoceroses. These animals were large, heavily built, and capable of defending themselves, but even they would have been vulnerable to a predator of Simbakubwa's size and strength. For years, hyaenodonts like Simbakubwa thrived across Africa and other parts of the world. They were highly successful predators, occupying ecological niches that would later be filled by modern carnivores. But their dominance did not last. Around 22 million years ago, environmental changes began to reshape ecosystems. Climate shifts altered habitats, forests gave way to more open environments, and prey populations fluctuated. These changes placed pressure on specialized predators like Simbakubwa. At the same time, a new group of carnivores began to rise. These were the ancestors of modern carnivores, members of the order Carnivora, including early relatives of cats, dogs, and hyenas. Unlike hyaenodonts, these new predators were more adaptable. They had more generalized teeth and feeding strategies, allowing them to survive on a wider variety of prey and environmental conditions. And then came the turning point that changed everything. As continents shifted and land connections formed, animals migrated between regions. Carnivores from Eurasia entered Africa, bringing new competition into ecosystems already under pressure. This was not just competition, it was displacement. These new carnivores were more efficient in certain ecological niches. They could adapt more easily to changing environments. Over time, they began to outcompete hyaenodonts for food and territory. The once dominant hyaenodonts began to decline. And eventually, they disappeared entirely. By around 9 million years ago, hyaenodonts like Simbakubwa were gone from the fossil record. Their extinction marked the end of a long era and the beginning of a new one, where modern carnivores would rise to dominate ecosystems. Today, lions are often seen as the ultimate symbol of African power. They are among the largest predators on the continent, capable of hunting large prey and commanding respect across vast territories. But they are not the largest predators Africa has ever seen. They are not even close. Simbakubwa represents a remarkable window into a time when Africa's ecosystems were dominated by extraordinary predators that no longer exist. These ancient creatures followed evolutionary paths very different from those of modern animals, developing unique hunting strategies and occupying ecological roles that have since vanished. Its discovery offers a powerful reminder that life on Earth has never been static. Instead, it has undergone constant transformation across millions of years. What we see in the present day is only a small fragment of a much larger and more complex story. Each fossil uncovered adds another piece to the puzzle, revealing just how diverse and dynamic prehistoric life once was. Yet, even with these discoveries, much remains unknown. The extinction of creatures like Simbakubwa highlights both the fragility and resilience of life, as entire species can rise to dominance and disappear, leaving behind only traces in stone. Despite its extinction, Simbakubwa leaves behind a powerful legacy. At one point, there existed a predator so immense and formidable that even modern lions would not have viewed it as mere competition, but rather as a true force of nature. It was an apex predator that shaped its environment, influencing the balance of life within its ecosystem. This realization leads to deeper questions. If the past was capable of producing something as powerful and dominant as Simbakubwa, what other extraordinary creatures might have existed? And more importantly, what remains undiscovered, hidden in layers of Earth's ancient history? The study of such fossils reminds us that our understanding of life's past is still incomplete. Beneath the surface lies a vast, untold history, waiting to be uncovered. In many ways, the story of Earth is still unfolding, gradually revealing how little we truly know about the world that came before us and what may still be waiting to be found. Be part of the journey, subscribe for more exciting content.